what is up, guys? We're back for another video, and as you guys know, I like to give you all the updates before I start the video. So we're going to go over a couple things. First, I painted the intake. It didn't come out as nice. I tried the hair dryer trick, and it didn't wrinkle as well as I'd like it to. But then I steel wooled with the finest steel wool there is, 000 grade or whatever it is, and then I used 1500 grit on that. And now I want to polish that to make it look nice. I got the throttle body on here. I moved over the throttle. The gaskets are not in this yet. I moved over the TPS sensor. The idle air control valve is waiting on the gasket. The old one's back here with the parts still on it. So we're going to do that tonight. And then hopefully we'll get the lower intake in, because as you guys can see, thanks to Summit and LMR, I'm not sponsored, although I wish I was. Either you guys want to sponsor me, let me know. But obviously I'm not that big. But we got our Trick Flow intake gaskets. This is actually a pack of 4 of these ones, so and I didn't make sure they fit. So let's see that now. As well, oh, and then from Summit, I got the 2 long studs. Well, I guess I gotta take the studs out. But the gaskets, oh sorry, fits up nicely. Yep, so that is the correct one. The gaskets and the studs are genuine Trick Flow products, so that's nice. As well as we come back over here, I ordered the BBK throttle body gasket kit for the 65 and 70 millimeter, which I have a 70 mil, so that's good. And then as well as we got the intake gaskets here, so lower intake, and then it was a whole kit. It's a whole Fel-Pro kit. Fel-Pro stuff, it's not the best, it's not the worst. There's better for sure, but it's not like their head gaskets, and we're only going to run this for, I don't know, 5-6 months till we go and pull the motor out. So, what the hell. We'll run them, we'll try them, see how it works. So my goal is tonight to pull the fuel rails off, the injectors off, the lower intake, seat the new gaskets on, because it takes 24 hours for RTV to, I think it takes 24 hours to cure. And then hopefully tomorrow, or tonight if I get to it, we'll put the upper on with the 70 mil and see how it goes. Picked up some hardware I needed. I needed 5/16-24 nuts for the intake for all the studs in there. And then as well as my brother mentioned to me, because he was here yesterday, and he said, well, if you're doing the intake, you might as well plug the heads. Since I am deleting the EGR, not by choice. I mean, granted, it always is my choice, but the throttle body I got it used from someone, and they already have the EGR block off plate all RTV down to it, so we're going to delete it. I picked up, these are 1.5 inch, which it recommended 1 inch, from all the forums I looked up, 1 inch 5/8 coarse thread. So I only found 1.5, but you know, if I get them in an inch worth, or back them up by some washers, that should plug the heads up. Now, everybody says delete your emissions and smog, which is a big controversy, because if you really do your research on it, which I recommend everybody before they make the choice of what they want to do, and I know some states don't allow you to do that, in the state of Connecticut, anything 25 years or older doesn't have to pass emissions, but the car came with it on there, so I didn't leave it, or I didn't take it off, and when I got the car, I didn't know if the motor even ran, so the smog pump was frozen up, but I was able to find one for 20 bucks, so I just replaced it since all the things are there. But I want to go and eliminate those, which it really doesn't rob horsepower. I mean, 2 to 5 horsepower, if that, which is no big deal. And what it does mainly is it takes the unused gas and circulates it back into the system. So if you delete it, you're just making for a cleaner engine bay. That's really your only gain, is a cleaner engine bay. You're going to have worse fumes. But since And then the EGR and the Smog are two separate systems. And the EGR, I am deleting, like I said, but I have to go and order. There is a plug where the EGR would plug into, which is, where's the old throttle body? Right here. So this has a plug on this side, and the plug pretty much just stops the computer from throwing codes. I don't think there's anything wrong with that because I don't believe I had any check engine codes last time I was running the car. But I'm going to delete it anyways. So those are two things you can delete if you're legally allowed to. And it's all personal preference if you want to eliminate them. Because there's no, everybody will tell you to delete the emissions, but honestly, do your research, look it up, look what other people say. It's not worth it, but I'm just going to do it because, one, the tube, I have a catless H pipe, so the catalytic converters aren't even there. And the rod that goes from the Smog to the catless H pipe, or the pipe I should say, that goes and brings the gas down to the, or not the gas, the exhaust down to the catalytic converters, that's separate. If you've seen a catless H, or any of the mid pipes for the exhaust, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Since that's already ruined, and the EGR is going to be gone, well, why would I run it? So I just want to do a cleaner engine bay. So all that nonsense is to pretty much just say, while I'm at it, while the intake's off and I could try to get behind the heads, I'm going to try to put those and plug them. If those are the correct bolt size, which I don't know because I've got it off the forums, we'll confirm that by the end of this video, hopefully. It's also a hassle to do them, and a lot of people say it's the other thing you can do is pull the pipe out, cut the backs off, flip them around, and just use the same bolts that are holding it in. But once you, which is fine, but I just figured, no, I'll just get the big bolts, plug them, which people say is a pain because the carbon buildup in the threads where the holes are for the big 5/8 bolts. But we're going to find out. So stay tuned, guys, and let's figure it out. Alright, guys, I've started on the Smog, or emission stuff in the back. I got them both loose. They are 1/2-inch bolts. And now the pipe is loose in the back, so I'm going to disconnect it from here. Disconnect, bring these hoses out. And your best friend to do this is a 1/2-inch ratcheting wrench. That'll get it done quick and easy. I mean, it took me 2 minutes to pull those bolts out. Getting them in, may be a different story. Down here for some time now. I got the passenger side in there, and then I've been working on the driver's side for like an hour, and I finally just called it quits. I even put flutes in this, or whatever you want to call them, where I take the thing. That way I could try to clean out some of the carbon deposits. I still can't get it to catch thread. So I went with the easier route for this side. And that's where all the emission stuff, or some of it's right here. And then you got to plug up the vacuum lines over near the throttle body. But you take this and you cut it off the opposing side. And then when you flip it around, I'm going to RTV this whole surface. And then it'll just make a nice little mating seal. And you just save the bolts you took out, which were a piece of cake. So I'm just going to clean this up, throw some RTV on this, slap it in the back there, plug up that hole, because that's the best I can do right now. And I can't get this to go on. So I tried it, which I'd rather go with the plugs. Obviously it beats a RTV seal any day, but it is what it is. So we're going to do this, and then hopefully I can finally start working on the intake and getting that done, since I haven't made any progress on that. Alright, so I flipped that one over, cut it off, the reverse side right here, and put it on the driver's side, little gasket maker RTV, and that's all set. It literally took me probably a total of 2 minutes to cut it, wire brush it, and then throw it on the back. So I would recommend that. If you can do the 5/8 bolts, do them, because they're better sealed, they're a better plug. But I just tightened that down as best I could. And make sure you hold the thing from spinning when you do it this way. Because now that it's not braced by the other one, which keeps them in a straight line, they'll just keep on rotating. So make a good seal, stop it from rotating, and do that. So now we're going to relieve our fuel pressure, pull out our distributor, and get this intake. Okay guys, here's a tip of advice for everybody. These metal fuel rail disconnects are great for everything but these cars. So I just went out and ran to the AutoZone because it's the only thing open this late, and grabbed these. So hopefully these will work to disconnect the fuel rails, because I pulled out all the injectors, and now I'm trying to get these two undone. And I looked up how to do it, and I just need the right size for these. So hopefully one of these will work. These fuel tool removers were worth every single penny. I got the fuel lines off. They're here. Honestly, I should, or not the lines, the rails. I should replace them. But I will probably just go and replace them when I tear the motor apart, because that's when I want to go through everything, do ARP studs, all that. Because right now I'm reusing the intake studs, just for the time being. But I want to do ARP everything and like really go through this motor, because like look how gross it is, and there's just so much stuff and acorns and just disgusting stuff that's been sitting here. And now I can shop vac it a little bit more, and so right now I'm gonna call it a night. Then probably gonna pick up later tomorrow, and I'm gonna pull that intake. Definitely put that one on. Clean this up. I have to empty the coolant, and the car is too low to get the coolant pan under, so I gotta jack it up. So that's all for tomorrow. It's about 10:30 right now, and I'm just calling it quits. I'm exhausted, but we made some good progress. And whatever, this thing must have been cheap because I went to move it and it broke right in half. But that's it for tonight, guys. Obviously, the next clip you'll see will be picking this up tomorrow or whenever. I'm also in the middle of deleting the AC lines. I'm not running AC, so I obviously wanted to remove those lines. So there's one all the way in the back there, and then there's one right here, which comes here. And I've been trying to, I tried the gas or the fuel line. We're supposed to do that as well, and it's a little tough. So, but I'm exhausted, so I'm just gonna pick it up tomorrow. But stay tuned, because we're going to continue this video now. But since I have the day off, it's Good Friday. Let's make it a Good Friday, and let's get this intake done. So, last night, before I went to bed, I pulled off all the injectors down there. I pulled off the coolant and smog, and then the fuel rails are also off down here. Now, next I have to, the car's so low, I have to jack up the front end, put the coolant pan under there, drain the coolant so there's no coolant in the intake, because obviously the water neck's coming off too. And that being said, take out thermostat, put all that in this intake, then we can slap this one on. So I'm going to drain the coolant, get that out of the way, and get that done. So inject the car, do that, remove the distributor, and then hopefully we can pull this intake off and see. Then I'll transfer the parts from this intake to this one, and then we'll slap this one on there with the gaskets and some RTV, and hopefully that'll do the trick. And then we can move on, proceed to put the top on, and everything's wet from the dew. It gets cold in here. Then I could also put the gaskets in here as well. So everything should be good. So let's get. Okay, so I have the car jacked up, the coolant pan under it, and I'm draining the coolant. You can see it down there. It's very slow. Probably the angle of the car, no big deal. So while I'm waiting, I'm going to assemble the throttle body to the upper intake, get the gaskets in, get the idle air control valve on it. Hopefully these all fit up right. I haven't tested them, so we're going to see. Alright guys, we're at the point now where we can remove the intake. I took off the distributor, plugged that hole. The coolant hoses, which I have wherever I put them, right here. I looped them to delete the heat because they were leaking in the back, and I cut them. That was an earlier video, but we still have the coolant going to the EGR spacer, so this will go in here. I could do the fuel rails and injectors on this before I put it into the car, but I'm just going to do it after. So we're going to remove this one now, pretty much. So we're at that step, and we're going to see how it is underneath. Alright guys, so as you saw, I just took off the stock intake. So let's take a look. Clearly, all the dirt and stuff. I think this is the first time it's ever come off, to be honest with you. Everything looks good, except for all the dirt and shit that just fell off the top of it. And I tried to clean as best as I could. So I'm going to go peel these gaskets off, then try to clean up as much as that and get it out of there as I can. And then I'll change the oil before the first run. And you can see, look how dirty and how much shit is on this intake. And it's just ridiculous. Like, even all the stuff back there. And this thing's junk. The stock intake for you guys. With a cheap, I don't know, 1/2 inch spacer on it. But, I mean, the gasket's held up good. Let's see the bottom of it. It looks good. It just has so much shit from everything collecting on top of it. So, and I ended up taking off the water neck to get the hose that goes on and off. But so now I have to transfer everything from this intake to the trick flow, as well as prep the surface, the mating surfaces. So I'm going to get to that, do that now. Alright, so there is an O'Reilly's down the street from me, which is kind of new, so I just stopped. Since this is literally a disaster, I got a gasket scraper since I didn't have one. And I also got one of these razor blade scrapers. Because I scrape a lot of things with razor blades by hand, and like just this, how thin a razor blade is, it just kills your fingertips. While I was there though, I also picked up, which they only had Fel-Pro. So I picked up a Fel-Pro thermostat gasket and a new thermostat to put on. I spent probably about 3 hours scraping these gaskets. Thank God I went to O'Reilly's and grabbed those two things. The one with the razor blade on it definitely worked better than the actual gasket scraper. But by all means, if you're going to do this, expect to spend some time scraping the gaskets. Unless you just recently rebuilt your motor or something like that and they're going to come off easy. But anyways, so I just vacuumed this out. And now I'm going to wipe it clean because a lot of sediment got down in here, which, like I said before, it doesn't make me happy. So now I'm just going to go through and thoroughly clean it. And then hopefully we're going to lay some gaskets down, lay some RTV, and put in the lower intake. Get that all on the road. Get this thing back together. Now remember, RTV takes 24 hours to cure, so don't plan on running your motor the same day you're doing this. Okay, so now that the valley's all clean, as best it's going to get, we have the intake gaskets. One side is labeled head side, as you can see where my finger is, so this faces the head, and the other process of elimination means it's the intake side. So we have both of them, and what I'm going to do now is just take some RTV and go around each of these rings, and then that way it'll stick itself in place while I get the intake ready to drop in. And then before I put the intake on, I'm also going to put RTV around each of the holes on this as well. Bad news. I went through, did all the RTV. I time-lapsed that, or I'm going to time-lapse that. And once you get RTV on your hands, it's like anti-seize, and it just gets everywhere. So I wasn't really filming much. But I have the intake on. Everything's torqued down, except I broke number 6 right here of the intake studs. And I just, yeah, it sucks. Because now it's stuck in the head. So I just finished torquing them all. And the only thing I could think of is to do, because everything was already RTV, to just wait till the RTV dries and try to drill it out into the head. And then, actually, I might get lucky at this head. And that's why I'm drinking a beer. Because I just need some time to think. And this is the best plan I've come up with. Nope, it won't. Oh, yep. Actually, this one, it goes through the other side. So hopefully I'll just wait till everything else dries and just drill straight through this and then torque that one down and hope for the best. You know, yesterday I snapped a head bolt. I'm not happy about it at all, but I'm lucky. I'm lucky in the sake that it was this front one here and the hole to it is right here. So I'm hoping to drill it out with the hand drill and it'll just come out the bottom or out the top. That's my hopes. Will it happen? I don't know. We're going to find out. All right, so I was able to drill out just stepping up with the smaller to larger drill bits. I was able to drill that out, so that's all set. Threads are still good in there. I just need to find the right bolt that fits it. So I'm pretty much going to continue going with everything until I get that bolt. And granted, this is a temporary thing, guys. I'm going to pull the motor apart in 6 months when it's winter time, pull it out of the car, do the new heads, the cam, like I've said multiple times. So it's just temporary, which that's why I don't mind it. If it was permanent, I wouldn't do it. But because it's temporary, it's no big deal to me. I ran into an issue with getting the fuel injectors to seat, and I kept going crazy over this one, why it wouldn't sit down. And then I finally pulled the rails back off, and it turns out there was an O-ring from the top of the old one still in there. So just check that and make sure you guys pull out all the O-rings from the top and the lowers as well. Not that if you're not using the same intake, it doesn't really matter, but if you're changing the injectors, make sure the O-rings come off of them. And then what I did is I poured a little bit of fresh oil, brand new oil in there. Just lubed up the O-rings. It helps them slide in. It keeps the rubber from drying out. I recommend it. It's worth doing. So I did that. Next thing I'm going to do is connect the fuel lines back up, throw the water neck back on, and put the injector harness back on. And then throw the distributor in. And I should be able to get that bolt with the distributor in and torque. I may not be able to. And torque it back down later when I go to the store. Obviously, all the stores are closed right now, so I can't run out and grab that bolt to match it. And I don't have anything in the garage. I checked. Alright, sorry guys. I know this video is long already, so I'm just trying to keep it short. But I've just been cruising along, and sometimes you just get in the rhythm and you just keep going and going, and you forget to record. But here's a little update. The fuel rails are connected, distributors in, water neck's on, coolant lines are connected back, the fuel injector harness is back on. I'm literally just about ready to put the gasket, which I have right out here. I've hooked up all the vacuum lines, transfer them from the old one to the trick flow. So those are ready to go back on there. So I'm literally about to drop it on. And I'm just trying to get it done, keep rolling. I replaced the coolant lines that go to the throttle body. Put a new water neck, new thermostat gasket, new intake gaskets, obviously. And we're going to do new trick flow gasket. And yeah, so I'm going to keep rolling on that, guys. Alright guys, so I've just placed it on top, just through the gasket, literally 60 seconds after I took the last clip. So it's just placed there, but I can already say I just love the look of it. I scratched up the paint, which I'm just going to go and touch it up when I had it laying on the ground to undo the vacuum connects and connect them. But I'm just laying there, so now I'm going to bolt it down, do the vacuum lines. I still have access to this intake bolt to get to that later. But yeah, we should be ready to roll. Okay, last night I went to fire it up. Everything's put back together, and it wouldn't fire. It just backfired once, and that was it. All the fuel spark hit it. So I assume the timing's off. So what I'm going to do is reset this whole thing to 0 degrees timing. So I'm going to pull the first spark plug out, turn over the crank, and put it back to 0, and then hopefully advance and retard it, most likely advance it obviously, but according to that. So that's the plan now. Okay, so it turns out the timing was off, so we reset at the top dead center. Now I need to time this. I don't have a timing light, which is unfortunate, so I'll have to go get one at some point. But so now this is pretty much where we go and make the adjustments to like the throttle cable could be off because the different throttle body is a little bit larger, so it could set it off. Little things like that. We're going to check for leaks, but she runs, the intake's on, and that's as good as it's going to get for now, which is great. I'm very happy. Now I just hope nothing leaks and hope everything goes well. So I am filling it with coolant, and I'm going to burp it. But yeah, that's about it, guys, for this intake. As you can see, it's on. That's it. So it took me about a week to do it, just finding the time to do it, and the parts, but it was worth it, definitely worth it. And if it leaks and I have to go and fix it, it's still going to be worth it. Although it did make me want to switch to carbureted through all the hassle this was to get to everything and the vacuum lines and whatnot. But I would highly recommend upgrading your intake. Almost fell there. But I got a couple good videos coming, so stay tuned for those. But that's pretty much going to end it for this one, guys. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for May 1st. Because that's the $100 mod challenge today between me, 5-0 Tussin, House of Dula, Brutal, and Justin 91LX. So stay tuned for that, guys. Thanks for watching.